Welcome back to Sports for Real. I'm your host, Coach Hall, and today we got another good day of college football. Some traditional matchups from years before are going to take place, but I want to talk about Nebraska football. As you know, last week they fired their coach, Scott Frost, and in all honesty, that should have happened a long time ago. He only won like 15, 16 games since he's been there. He hasn't competed in the Big Ten, and then he lost to Georgia Southern last week, which is a major embarrassment for any big school to lose to a smaller one, especially with a proud history like Nebraska. But I want to go back to 2003. That's a year that Frank Solich was ceremoniously fired by the athletic director, Steve Pedersen. Remember that guy? He comes on TV and so arrogantly proclaims that a program such as Nebraska, who shouldn't lose any games, how dare Solich lose 3 games in 1 year? Matter of fact, Solich lost 19 games in 6 years. Yes, that's the average of about 3 a year. But if you think about it and you're honest with yourself, any program that's trying to survive in this world of parity and great competition, if you lose 3 every year, eventually you're going to put together teams that are only going to lose 2. Then you're going to lose 1. And then you're going to get to the point where nobody can beat you. That's what happened with Tom Osborne. Remember all those years he couldn't beat Oklahoma? 2 out of 3 times they played Oklahoma in the big game, and they make a big deal out of it, and it's just the Big 8 championship, Oklahoma, Nebraska. Great presentation before the game. Every year Oklahoma will pull it out. But finally he started getting by Oklahoma. And then he ended up getting to the bowl games. He would lose, to Miami or whoever. And then he started winning them all. In the mid-'90s, he won those 3 championships. He was almost unbeatable at the end of his career. But if he had an athletic director like Steve Pedersen, he would have got fired. Solich was a good coach. Solich still had the program competitive, but then you go and embarrass the man like that by firing him like that on national TV. In my opinion, you have put a black eye on the program. And ever since then, Nebraska has been no more than an average college football team, whether you like it or not. And that all goes back to what Pedersen did to Solich. Can they overcome that? Yes. But they're going to have to modernize and go find a coach who's going to bring in a certain type of players instead of trying to live in the past, kind of like what Oklahoma has done. They have remained relevant, much more so than Nebraska. Speaking of Oklahoma, guess who they're playing today? They're going into Nebraska. And they're probably going to put an old-fashioned whipping on them, just like they used to do in the 80s and the 90s. So that's just my take on Nebraska football. They have a black eye. They've been cursed all by this guy, Steve Pedersen. And it wasn't just Nebraska. Once he left Nebraska, he went back to Pittsburgh, dealing with Dave Wanstedt, got him fired. Then all the other coaches he hired, they didn't stay very long, and they left. So Pittsburgh administration got wind of, what was happening, and they got rid of him. So you pretty much take 2 different programs. But Nebraska, they were a good program. They always been a solid program. They were competitive, but they haven't been very competitive since Solich was fired. You brought in Bill Callahan. You brought in Mike Reilly. Bo Pelini, he was almost as successful as Solich. He had the same number of wins, but he had more losses. They were grumbling about that too. Had you kept Pelini, you'd be a better football program today. So what is Nebraska going to do? I don't know. But Oklahoma is going to show them just how far you are off today. So that's my take. Sports for Real.